Welcome to the next episode of the Beginner Basics, where we are talking about gearing champions, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about Lysandra, who is a legendary support champion. Now, for most support champions, the kind of baseline that I give you to build them is super high speed and high survivability. So when I say super high speed, that means you want speed boots, of course. You want to be looking for speed in the substats. If you can get speed in the substats while in a speed set, that's great, or divine speed set, that's great. And then you want survivability, which means HP percentage and defense percentage in the primary and in the substats when you can find them. Now, a champion like Lysandra has a couple very specific roles for me. Number one, she is my speed aura in all of my battles. Okay? So we want her to make sure that she's going first in most of the fights because of this skill right here. This places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies. It also fills the turn meter of all allies by 30% and decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 30%, which means she needs accuracy as well. We look at her next skill. It attacks one enemy and fully depletes the target's turn meter. Again, this needs accuracy. And then A1 attacks one enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. Again, needs accuracy. So her main important stat lines is, and as you can see, we didn't get very lucky with the books. It is what it is. We want her to go fast. We want her to have some accuracy so she can land her debuffs. And we want her to have survivability. So that's why I built her in speed boots with survivability. I built her in a defense chest with speed in the substat and a speed set. I built her in defense gloves with speed in the substat. I built her with more speed and some accuracy, speed and defense, and a triple roll speed on an offset piece. Now, in a perfect world, if I could get her in an accuracy set here or a perception set, which would increase her accuracy and speed, then I would do it. But unfortunately, I don't currently have the gear or the rolls to be able to do that. Because, ideally, I'd love to get her in a piece like this that lived in the accuracy set. But it's only 4-star. So to be able to gain back this speed is going to be almost impossible. So most likely, this piece is going to stay on Lysandra for a while. And the best way for me to get accuracy is an accuracy banner. So once I increase this to level 16, I'll get more accuracy. And then her build will be a little bit better. In an even better world, I'd get accuracy with a substat of speed. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist on my account yet. It is what it is. You can also find accuracy in the necklace. So that's why I kind of built her in this specific way. Based off of the stuff that I had, this is what gave me the best option. Now, if I could find a 6-star speed boot, that would give me an extra 5 speed. But the substats on these pieces are not nearly as good as this triple HP percentage roll. So that's why I'm keeping her in this boot. Now, can I find potentially better gear for her speed and accuracy? We're sure as hell going to try. So we're looking at substats of speed and accuracy. And the first piece of gear that I'd like to replace is the helmet, because it's only 4-star. So right away, I'm going to look at this. I see that the accuracy will go up, but the speed actually will go down, so I don't love it. This piece, again, accuracy will go up, but the speed will go down, so I don't love it. So the likelihood of me improving her build right now is just not there. And that's okay. You can't always improve your builds every time. We can also look at just speed in the substat, but as you can see, I've rolled them up already. So for me, I'd like to find a piece that's going to do both speed and accuracy. I don't have any 6-star pieces, so the likelihood of me using a random piece to get that bonus is probably not high. Unless, of course, I can find a different piece. So we're going to try. We're going to show you the logic of how we do it. Okay? We're going to roll this to 8 and hope for a double speed. Even 1 speed, 1 accuracy could be okay. Okay? So if I equip this right now, we're probably going to lose speed, because I'm taking myself out of a speed boot. Or sorry, a speed helmet. So I'm losing my set. But my accuracy went up. Now what if I can find a speed boot in the speed set, or a speed weapon in the speed set? Now unfortunately, I only have a 4-star speed boot. I don't have a 5-star or a 6-star speed boot. So it's going to cap out at 35. But we can see here that if I was to put this piece on, which is already level 16, just for an example, I'm actually going to end up only losing 3 speed on the overall build, but I'm going to gain about 26 accuracy, which actually is a decent option. But what we'll also notice is I'm going to be losing about 5,000 HP. So this is kind of the playoff that you have to figure out. Now, granted, this is looking at a level 12 piece of a helmet, whereas that other helmet that we were looking at was actually level 8. And as we know, helmets are based off of HP only. So as we improve this piece, it's actually going to go up on the HP level. And we can actually do the calculation. You can see here, it tells you what it's going to max out at. So right now it's at 2231. If we were to take this piece to 16, it would max at 3480, which means it's another 1200, 1300 or so. So now we can do the math and decide what makes sense. So is it worth losing 3 speed to gain 26 accuracy and then eventually lose a couple thousand HP? It might be. It really might be. But right now, at where I am in the game, I need every piece of speed that I can get, because the important thing for me is maximizing on my speed, because that is her job in the arena. I need to make sure that I go first. Now, the likelihood of me keeping this boot on War Maiden is almost 0%, because I've recently pulled Zargala, who is basically just a better version of War Maiden. But the difference is, my War Maiden, actually she's not even fully buffed yet. So yeah, there's really no reason for me not to do this, because on the next clan versus clan, I'm going to put a bunch of books into Zargala, which is going to improve my chance for her landing this skill to 75%, which is not 100%, which is what War Maiden would have if she was fully booked. But she's going to provide me more nuking and more damage output, and again, she's going to be a champion that I'm going to use for a long time. So I'm really going to be waiting until the next clan versus clan, and I'm going to be rolling up and gearing a bunch of my different champions to try and improve them the best way that I can. But the point of this video is to show you that when you're building a support champion, the base ideology is speed priority number 1 and then survivability number 2. But there are differences for specific champions. And if you remember in one of the previous videos, we talked about Apothecary, who is a support champion whose goal really should be to be super fast, if that's what you're using him for. Like a lot of people use him as a booster in Arena, where he basically is the fastest on your team or the second fastest on your team behind another booster. So for example, he uses this skill, which again fills the turn meter. But on my specific team, I have somebody who's kind of doing that already. And then it allows me to bring in an increased attack, a decreased defense, and a nuke. Whereas on other builds, let's say for example you had a champion like, free stuff. Let's say you had a champion like Gorgorab. So let's go to Undeads. Let's go to Gorgo. So Gorgo is the support champion. He has a speed aura in Arena, and his skill does increased attack and turn meter fill in one skill. So what a lot of people will do is they'll take a champion like Gorgo, bring him in, and then bring an Apothecary behind, so that you're getting 2 turn meter fills, which means that your nukers in Arena can be a slower speed, because they're getting 2 different types of turn meter fills. Another excellent champion that can do 2 things at once is Seeker. Now, Seeker is an epic defense champion, but you can actually build him like a support champion, where speed is the primary focus, because you want him to go first and place this skill, which is a 30% turn meter fill and an increased attack. So again, it's about understanding what the champion is going to be used for and what their use case and viability is. Another champion that is a support champion that's weird, that needs crit rate, is somebody like Allure. So her skill attacks 3 times at random, decreases the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So on a champion like Allure, even though she's an attack-based champion, the real focus of her skill kit is to build her super high speed, super high accuracy, and then crit capped so that this applies. And that's what makes her an excellent champion on fights like Fire Knight, fights like Scarab, and other areas where you can specifically know that these 3 hits are going to go onto one boss or one person and decrease their turn meter. So again, this goes back to my original point in the first video, that to really understand the best way on how to build somebody, you really have to make sure that you're reading their skill kit and understanding where you want to use them. So just because somebody is a support champion doesn't mean that they won't need crit rate. Just because somebody is an attack champion doesn't mean that they'll always need attack. So make sure you read the skill kits and understand what's necessary for each piece of the puzzle. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about defense, and we're going to be talking about our favorite defense champion, the uncommon god that is Armiger, and why he is a perfect example of reading skill kits to understand what they actually need. See you next time.